Good morning, welcome back to my life. I have no tea left because I realised there was no tea. Went all the way to the supermarket, forgot to buy the tea and had to settle for hot chocolate instead. That would wreck my day, but I'm being positive today, so welcome to my life. I'm joined by all my dogs as always. Minnie Moo, Toby Dobes, Schmelvy Schmelv. If I happen to have a swollen nose, it's because I just had this pierced. Because you know, the best way to celebrate not having cancer is to get your nose pierced. Oh, by the way, I don't have cancer, yay! I don't have cancer, I don't have cancer. I got my test results back and I do not have cancer. Yay! So I went out and got my nose pierced. I'm happy about that, obviously, you know. Not dying is always preferable over dying. I thought I would also tell you about my experience in hospital because I had kind of an eventful one. Before I carry on, 2020, the year of the trigger warning, I love the NHS, I appreciate it in every single way. Not having healthcare for free is abhorrent. Healthcare should never be a profitable business. We don't go into hospital and come out and have a big fat bill to pay. That's amazing, and healthcare should be like that for everyone. For those of you who don't have healthcare for free in the way we do, I am really sorry, it sucks. So when I first arrived at hospital, they didn't seem to know where I was supposed to be, so we had a lovely time trying to figure out which ward I was on, you know, fun. And then went into my ward. There was only me there and another patient lady. So I was told I was going to have the ward to myself all night, which I was really chuffed about. Then they came to me a bit later on and said, oh, we're going to move you. And I was like, okay, we're going to move wards. I don't really know. I was moving wards again. I did get moved and then I got moved onto a ward full of people, which, you know, fine. I expected it. I didn't expect to have a private room, but it was really awkward and they were really ill. They were like sick motherfuckers. And I was like, oh God, even though I'm really like never shut up kind of person. Socially, this is awkward and I didn't like it. So I closed my curtains and then I felt really bad. I was like, oh no, everyone thinks I'm a stuck up bitch. This is so awkward. I'm being rude, but I was like embarrassed. Anyway, that lasted all of 5 minutes. The next minute the nurse comes and said, we're moving you again. And I was like, again? She was like, we're moving you to a side room. And I was thinking, oh God, are they moving me because I have my curtains around and think I'm awkward? But apparently they were moving me because, get this, my COVID test results hadn't yet come back. So I could have been a zombie and I could have eaten the entire room full of people, but they didn't realise they did not have my results to prove I was not in fact a zombie. So they had to panic and move me into a side room. So I got up to move and they're like, oh no, we're not moving you. And I was like, can you move me? It's like a really awkward situation when you're in hospital because you don't know people and I don't really like meeting new people. I like dogs. But it was pretty rubbish at the hospital because obviously I could have infected the entire room. And they were still not going to move me and I was like, please can I move? So I got moved. And then they came to me and were like, oh, we're going to do another COVID test because we don't have your COVID results. And I was like, okay, cool. I drove 40 minutes to go and get a swab stuck up my nose and down my throat and now you want to give me another one. Cool. So they did that and they were like, oh, don't worry, you don't have COVID. And I was like, oh, phew. You're going to stay in here tonight. I was like, oh, cool. I said to them, will I stay here? Will I be brought back here tomorrow? They're like, yeah, you'll stay here. And I was like, yes, don't want to move again. I like my little private side room. Doggies, be quiet. I'm trying to tell a story. The next day, I was getting wheeled down the corridor and to my doom. That's what it feels like. They wheel you into like a room of people waiting to be put to sleep, like waiting to go into a room to be put to sleep. To get the drugs, the good drugs. There was this other guy being wheeled in on a trolley at the same time. I was being wheeled in on a trolley and I was like, you know, really stressed as most people are when they're about to go under anaesthetic and nervous. And the lady who was like sort of, I don't know, in charge of that department was like, oh, you can't go there, you can't go there. And she was like kicking off and causing a scene. Me and the other guy on the trolley just made eye contact. I was like, okay. We're both sat here in a hospital gown and stockings on a bed and this is not awkward at all. And the woman was getting annoyed. She was obviously being really professional. And the man who takes you down, he's the person who just like wheels the bed for you. He was like, I'm so sorry about this. I'm really sorry. That's the last thing you want to hear when you're worried and stressed out. And he apologised. He was the sweetest man in the world. He apologised like 5 times and he told the nurse about it. He made it all right, but it was kind of like awkward for everyone involved, you know, and unprofessional. So there was that. Went into the room where they put me to sleep. And then when they were putting me to sleep, the guy who was trying to get the line in, he couldn't do it. And he sort of like bent my vein off to the right, but he was so sweet about it. I wasn't annoyed at him. And then it took ages for them to get the line into my artery. They had to give me 2 injections and that could have been a little bit traumatic for someone if they were squeamish and not into needles. Who's into needles? I don't know, maybe a drug addict. Then I came round, obviously, and I was in recovery. And then I went down to intensive care because after you have the surgery I had, which is called thoracic surgery, is chest surgery. It's next to your major organs, so it's, you know, dangerous and all that. And they had to collapse my lungs, so they had to take me down to intensive care to monitor me. But because the operation went really well, I didn't have a drain in my chest, which I was supposed to have. They do that as a precaution to make sure you don't get like fluid on the lungs and get pneumonia and die. The operation had gone really well, so I didn't need that doing. They sent me down anyway to the intensive care unit. It's really weird. The guy was like, hey, welcome to the Hilton. This is the Hilton. Pretty sure I didn't dream it. I was on a lot of morphine at the time. I had a morphine drip, my own crackhead morphine drip, in case the pain got too much, you could press a button and it gave you it. So the guy was like, welcome to the Hilton. This is the Hilton. And he kept saying it and I thought that was really odd. I was like, my guy, we are in an intensive care unit where people are very unwell and you're talking about it being the Hilton. I think he was just trying to be funny, but it was like, dude, it's kind of not that funny and it's kind of weird. I think he's just really proud of being in the intensive care unit, but that was kind of weird. And on the way out, again, he said to me, hey, you're leaving the Hilton now? And I was just like... So I got back, got placed in yet another ward that I'd never been in with a fresh bunch of people who I didn't know, and I was... The visiting protocol was really strict, so my mum got told like you can only stay for an hour. If you're late, you don't get any extra time. But because they'd like held me against my will in the Hilton Hotel downstairs, aka, you know, intensive care, they were like, your mum can stay longer. And I got up to the ward, the new ward. The first thing that happened was, like, my mum said, oh, she's lost her stuff, and the nurse was like, yeah. So then another nurse came. This was a little bit late, and I was like, hey, I'm really sorry, but like I was wondering if you found my stuff because I need my phone charger because I just want to like charge my phone so I can ring people. And the lady nurse turned around and said, the thing is, we've got more important things to worry about than your phone. I'd just been under intensive serious surgery and I was really in a lot of pain. I was on a lot of drugs. She basically said that to me really rudely and talked down to me in front of the entire ward, and I was not feeling well. Luckily for me, I am a feisty biatch, so even in my drugged up state, I was like, I didn't say you didn't have more important things to do, and I wasn't being rude to you about it, so I really don't appreciate the way you just spoke to me. And she basically changed her tone and was like, this is really embarrassing because I'd only just been moved onto this ward. I'd never met these people in my life. I was really poorly and the woman was there being really rude to me. It's not normal to be that rude to your patients. And I was like, why is this lady a nurse? And I burst into tears because I was emotional and upset, but it was unnecessary and it was really, really shit. And then me and mum were talking, and I kid you not, like after the drama of her being rude to me, she then comes and says to us, I'm sorry, your mum's gonna have to leave now. Her time is over. And she'd only been there for 20 minutes. And I was like, oh no, you don't, bitch. So yet again, me, who had been under anaesthetic, ill as fuck, on morphine, had to stand there and argue with the nurse about how they told us downstairs in intensive care that because she didn't get to come and see me for ages that I could stay longer. And the woman turned around and said, well, I'm sorry, but that's nothing to do with me. That's their department. This is my department. She's got to leave. She's driven an hour and 20 minutes to be here to see me, and she's only been here 20 minutes. And the woman was like, well, I'm sorry, but I can't put the other patients at risk. I was like, my mum has been shielding with me for 2 weeks. She hasn't been anywhere or seen anyone. The patients in this ward are fine and safe and at no risk. So after I argue with the stupid bitch of a nurse for 20 minutes, I was like, I'm not being funny, but you've just literally argued with me for like 15 minutes about my mum leaving, and you could have just had a heart, showed some compassion and let her stay. Seeing as I've just had major surgery and been in intensive care while she was here waiting in the nurse's room with nurses, knowing she wasn't having her visiting time. And the woman turned around and said, okay, she can stay then. And I was like, are you for real? I turned around and said to the woman, I do not want you caring for me at all. And she scuttled off. I never got seen by that nurse again, and every other nurse was an amazing, lovely angel of a person. So I don't know what that woman's deal was, but I literally asked another nurse later on for something, and I felt like really bad about it because she'd obviously made me paranoid that I couldn't ask this for something in case I was gonna get my head bitten off and made to feel like this is big. And the nurse was like, don't you be silly, this is our job. That's what we're here for. And I was just like, So that was pretty darn stressful. So basically there was a lot of rudeness and I cried a lot, and it wasn't a nice experience when I just had major surgery for potentially having cancer. Even if you don't have cancer, that's not okay. Imagine thinking it's okay to make people feel bad about asking for something really politely, let alone when they've just come out of surgery. You know, imagine, and you decided to become a nurse. I think you should have a rethink about your career, lady, don't you? There you go, that was my hospital experience. It wasn't the best. There was a lot of move-in rooms, there was a lot of potential COVIDness and zombie apocalypticness, and there was rudeness and tears, but I am okay. I don't have cancer and all is good with the world. So I hope you enjoyed this, and you know, back to my regularly scheduled program after this. Dogs, dogs and more dogs. Subscribe for dogs and drama in my life. Okay, goodbye. Dun 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 dun.